some of my thoughts on the future of India going finally up to 2047. Not just Vikasit Bharat, but a Bharat which is an inclusive one, which has accelerated inclusive growth. The title of my talk is Powering Exponential Growth Through Innovation Leadership. I must say that these two books that I published in last 3 years, a lot of that I'm going to speak about is covered in these two books. The first is Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, Creating the Magic of Radical Yet Sustainable Transformation. And the idea here is not to leapfrog a few feet, but pole vault to distant horizons of aspiration uh, by using our aspiration as a pole vault. This has become the best business book of the year award and also become national bestseller. The second book that you see is Exponential Improvement Through Converging Parallels. And now that might seem odd. How do you converge parallels? But the book shows how it can be done. This has also become national bestseller. But in both the books, the common point is not to do 10% improvement, but 10x, tenfold, or even beyond. And that requires disruptive innovation and how we can do that. I would say that when you look at exponential, India is chasing exponential. And I consider India as a good lilies in the pond model. What do I mean by that? You look at this pond, it looks empty. And the on day one, this almost an empty look. But the interesting part about it is that it is capable of doubling up. The lilies are capable of doubling up every day. So if you go to day 30, what do you see? The pond is full. The pond is full on day 30 after doubling up every day. So the simple question is, if on day 30 it is 100% full, what would it be on 29? 50% full, 28, 25%, and so on. You can go down. And what you will find is that on day 11, day 26, it is 1/16th full if you keep on having it. So that is almost 6% full. That means it is 94% empty. So if you visit the pond on day 26, you will say, oh my God, what is this? This pond is empty. There is nothing that can be done. But it will change from almost empty to full pond in just 4 days. To my mind, my India, our India, is lilies in the pond on day 26. Now, as a good scientist, I like to prove what I'm saying. But before that, I would say when we talk about innovation, it is not just technological innovation, it is business model innovation, system delivery innovation, workflow innovation, process innovation, organization innovation, policy innovation, all that matters. And for a nation, in order to become an advanced nation, all these innovations are important. In fact, innovation has to become a way of life. Now, let us start with the exponential growth in LED penetration. We had 0.1% share and we jumped to 88% share, a kind of a world record in just 7 years. And you can see it here, 0.1% to 88%. This is LED penetration percentage in Indian households. That's a kind of a world record. What happened? What happened was there was this company ESL that started spearheading India's LED revolution. And this is the report by International Energy Agency case studies, by the way. So I'm quoting from them. I'm not saying anything myself. And the one quote from that report is that the technology got adopted in 6 months, while it should have taken 5 years. And as a result of the ESL program, the LED bulb is now cheaper than bread. That was the miracle that happened. And what is very important is that in this revolution, LED lamp production was up 30 times to 3 crore in a month. The retail prices were slashed from 550 to 65 rupees. And as a result, the rural areas got 600 million LED bulbs at 10 rupees a piece without government subsidy. So what am I predicting here, showing here? I'm sharing here exponential growth, but at the same time, inclusion. That's very important. because as affordability comes in, scalability increases. Let us take another mission, Swachh Bharat mission. That became world's largest sanitation initiative. Our Honorable Prime Minister, in his usual bold fashion, he spoke from the Red Fort and talked about Swachh Bharat, defecation free India. And you can just see the percentage of households with access to toilet changed from 38.7 to 99.6% within 6 years. And I have watched it very closely because when Prime Minister announced Swachh Bharat Yojana, I was made the chairman of the standing committee which chose the technologies in drinking water and in sanitation. And I have witnessed how the total innovation was responsible for this. Let me take another example, the exponential rise in Prime Minister's Jandan Yojana accounts, the world's fastest and largest financial inclusion, as you can quite clearly see over here, between 8 years in terms of the number of accounts. And one of world's least bank countries became the most bank country. In fact, what was done here is again innovation, total innovation. It was technology innovation, policy innovation, and system delivery innovation. Jandan accounts, Aadhaar card, and mobile phones. And I proudly display this particular certificate, the Guinness Book of Record certificate, where within 1 week we created 18 lakh sort of account. This is the fastest financial inclusion that we had. And if you see the mobile data consumption, 67-fold, not 67% in 8 years. Just look at it, 0.29 to 19.5 GB per month. So therefore, if you look at 2014, when it was just 0.29 GB per month, it was like lilies in the pond on the 26th day. You would not have realized that within 8 years, you would increase 67-fold. And you can see that the real-time transactions, you can see from point one, the UPI transactions in zero point 0.1 billion, they raised to 75. In fact, I'm very proud to say that in 2022, UPI clocked over 74 billion transactions. That is 46% of the world's transactions, almost half of world's transactions. Can you believe that the most unbanked country in the world would do this? And what is important here is to realize the importance of inclusion, because there is the record now in terms of the transactions done, and you will find that 56% of these, 56% have been less than 500 rupees. What does it mean? That the lowest strata of our society is making use of this. That's a true inclusion. And in the same way, we talked about the JAM, in terms of the bank account opening, in a very short time, the women bank account, which was 29%, became 56% also. Very interesting. All right. Would you have just imagined that? And the empowerment that it means. So this has been the exponentiality followed by inclusion. If you look at Indian startups, and Dr. Pillai you just mentioned about that, you can just see that in 2016, 2016 it was 476 registered startups. Within 5 years, they have jumped to 70,000. And till 2016, if you see, there is something interesting. There was a newspaper headline: India produced more unicorn startups in 2021 than all previous years put together. Can you just imagine? But there is what is called as unicorn. That is the market cap being $1 billion. And till 2016, we are doing one unicorn per year. And 2021, we did one unicorn per week. And the most important part is the inclusion. 44 unicorns with a total valuation of $94 billion were born in 2020. But where did they come from? They came from Tier 3 cities and Tier 2 cities. 50% of them came from Tier 3 cities and Tier 2 cities. That is inclusion. That's my theme, exponential growth with inclusion. That's what India is doing. I've been on the board of Reliance for 17 years. and I've been chairing their innovation council. And we say growth is life, but then innovation is a way of life. And you combine the two, you get innovation-led growth. So was Mukesh and I were having a chat, and Mukesh said, "Doc, we must leave frog." I said, "Do you know why the frog leaps?" So he said, "No." I said, "I will tell you why the frog leaps. The frog leaps because he's afraid of the predator. Okay, and he jumps a few feet. Do you want to jump a few feet because you are afraid of the competitor, or you want to pole vault? The size of the pole is the size of your aspiration, and that led actually to the book Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, which got the best business book of the year award, Tata Live, as you can quite clearly see. But the pole vaulting that they did, you can see that in terms of mobile data consumption, this is in millions of GB per month. This is where we were. US, China are all leading, and we are way behind. And came Jio, and within 1 year, you can see it pole vaulted. Today we talk about uh, digital public infrastructure and all the other miracles that have happened. This has been largely responsible because 4 rupees per GB and voice free was what they started with, and that made the whole difference. And not only that, the speed with which it was done. Telephone took 50 years for 50 million users, mobile 12, YouTube 4, Facebook 3, Twitter 2, Reliance did it in 83 days. Now you might say, oh, if you have deep pockets, you can do that. No, I'm sorry. You have to read the book Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting to see all sorts of innovations that were made possible for this. In fact, in 2023, 29 July, in the Bay Area, I gave the opening address in the JMG Excellence Summit, and I proudly displayed this $12 Jio Bharat, which actually gives access to 4G. Can you imagine? 2G does not allow you to use internet. 4G does. Not only use internet, watch movies, do financial transactions, and all sorts of basic things. And that's a real exponential. So I think when we come back to India and our dream of India to 2047, we must make innovation as a way of life. The I in India must stand for innovation, not inhibition, not imitation. And we must go for innovation-led growth, but innovation-led exponential growth, and that has to be disruptive innovation-led exponential. But also we must move from incremental improvement, exponential improvement. And you can see that the motivation behind the book that I talked about is that the unexpected connection is more powerful than the one that is obvious. And this requires the magic of converging parallels because parallel lines don't meet. They have no connection with each other. And you make them meet. And this is the book, by the way, I'm very proudly showing it, holding it with my young co-author, Harsh Helajkar. He is half my age, by the way, less than half my age, but twice as intelligent, even more, I think, maybe 4, 5, 10 times. And we wrote this book together. And the idea there is that creating a convex lens mindset to convert the parallels. Parallels don't meet, but you use a convex lens and they meet. So can you create that sort of a mindset? That's the issue. So for example, here, Ford, when he started building cars, the car assembly time was 12 hours. He reduced it to 1.45 hours, almost by factor of 10. And also the cost went down by factor of 10. So, did he get those ideas from some great auto mechanic, expert in automobile manufacturing? No. He went to a slaughterhouse. And in slaughterhouse, what did he see? He saw that the workers did not go to the cut part of the meat, but the cut part of the meat came to the workers on a conveyor belt. That is where he got the assembly line approach. Now you tell me, what is common between slaughterhouse and a car manufacturing? Nothing. But connecting the seemingly unconnected made all the difference. Look at another example. For example, a Formula One car, you can see that the tires are changed within just few seconds. So there was this manufacturing company which said, "My God, why does it take me 2 hours to change from one brand to another, brand A to brand B?" Okay, so they use some of the workflow innovations and use them in manufacturing there. And can you see, they produce 2 million extra tubes per year. Now tell me, what is common between, let's say, uh, a car racing and toothpaste manufacturing? Nothing, no. But you can quite clearly see such lateral thinking, what difference it made. So there are more examples, like we have given the F1 pit crew and how an emergency room could be set up. We have shown by applying combination of behavioral economics and technology from gaming industry to physiotherapy. Gaming industry has nothing to do with physiotherapy, but you will be surprised to see that. Drawing a parallel between concept of banking money and developing a way to bank time, for example, or taking inspiration from thermochromic labeling of pizza box to design cancer detection device. So I think the main point I'm trying to make is that when you want to do really exponential improvement, all right, you can't do incremental innovation. It has to be disruptive, and one of the ways of doing it is here. Now I come to India. We have a problem of converging parallels in India. What do you see in this photograph? India at 75, remaining having a luxurious life in multi-storied buildings and so on and so forth. And next to India at 75 is Bharat at 70 in Juggies. Okay? And they are parallel lines. How do we make them meet? And their distance is increasing. India among the top countries with high income wealth inequality. So they are not coming closer. They are moving farther. So what do you do then? Now you can't overnight increase the income. You'll have to do something which is innovative. And therefore, the idea is, can we get access equality despite income inequality, whether it is education, whether it is health, and so on and so forth. You look at this lady, she may be driving a Mercedes, but look at this lady who comes perhaps from Juggi. So there is an exponential yet inclusive growth, as you can quite clearly see. So what we did was, under the Mashelkar Foundation, we said we'll work on those innovations which create access equality despite income inequality, and making high technology work for poor. And we talked about affordable excellence. Now, affordable and excellence is like parallel lines. What is affordable can't be excellent. What is excellent can't be affordable. And therefore, the awards we started 13 years ago were for that. And the reason we went into diagnosis was, if diagnosis is done early, the expense for a given patient is much less, as you can quite clearly see. The later you discover the disease, the more sort of you spend. And the governments can save even 90% of its healthcare treatment if you do that. But the challenge in cancer treatment, for example, or diagnosis, is that it is invasive. There is mammograph, painful, involves radiation, expensive, bulky equipment, and so on and so forth. So, can you overcome all that? And that is where our innovation started coming. Like, for example, diagnosing, I'll show you the next one. You look at this, for example, biopsy mammography, dollar-1 non-invasive screening. This is what was created by Mihir Shah, young fellow, iPress exam. They're ultra-portable, accurate, minimal training, wireless, cloud-connected, instant results. Today, it is present in 20 countries. And they have taken scans around 2.5 million women. Goa, for example, screened 1 lakh women. They are doing 1.5 lakh more, and so on and so forth. And just imagine $1 invasive, non-invasive screening. And this is FDA approved, by the way. And the magazine Lancet actually has rated it as the best non-invasive. Can you just imagine what it means for rural women? So that is one issue. Before that, I wanted to show you something else, which is interesting, and that is diagnosing respiratory problems using biomarkers. Normally, you use a spirometer. Okay. The next practice was, you have a smartphone, you just cough into it, and you know what's happening to the lung. Now you can see the equipment cost was 1.5 lakh. That's brought to zero now because you already have the smartphone. Assessment cost would be from 500 to 1500 rupees. It was brought down to one. And the results here with spirometer take 90 minutes. This was instant. And 3 lakh plus lung health assessments have done so far. And most importantly,
I'm very proud to say science behind it has been published in a journal called Nature. Two papers, actually. So this is what I mean. Making high technology work for the poor using deep science that works for the poor. And by the way, this is done by using artificial intelligence and training the audiometry of a smartphone. So these are the award winners that we have. I won't have time to describe all these, but all of them are making high technology work for the poor. All of them are not going for best practice; they are all going for next practice. And these are the kind of devices that are there, and they are going all around the world. Some of them for 12 countries, some of them even one has gone to sort of 50 countries. And if you go to my website www.mashelkar.com, you will see what these are. And our foundation now not only gives recognition, funding, but creates government partnerships, outreach programs, research and development, etc., etc. I'm very fond of these breakthrough designs for ultra low cost products. And my TED lecture has been 7,59,000 and has been translated into 23 languages. But I also took that message because this is good for the world. The developed world requires excellence, and the developing world requires affordability. Can you combine affordability and excellence? So I remember my first lecture was in Australia when I was given the Australian Academy fellowship. Uh, I remember speaking, for example, in the US, particularly Washington, World Bank, they created an inclusive innovation project, actually, more from less for more. I remember speaking in Manila, for example, Asian Development Bank, they created a program. I remember speaking in Brussels in the European Commissioner invited me. And can you believe it? Their Horizon 2020 program, they included these inclusive innovation as one of the strategies, because if we match the excellence of the Western world but do it affordably, we'll be competitive. And they were concerned about that. I talked in Beijing, several countries, Tokyo, Colombo, Cape Town, and so on and so forth. What I found is that the key drivers for chasing exponential first is technology, but most important is talent, and even more important is trust. Let us look at technology. You can see that technology improvements have reduced costs exponentially. If you see data storage, Crader's law, hard disk dollar per bit 50% down every 18 months, just like Moore's law. Digital imaging, Henry's law, pixels per dollar, 59% reduction in cost in the same dollar per year. Network capacity, Butter's law, transmitting a bit decreased by 50% every 9 months. And of course, lithium and batteries. And not only that, you can see the dramatic shift when you look at sensors, for example. In 7 years, 2007 to 14, the number has gone up by 1,000. Just in 7 years, huh? Cost has come down by 1,000. Power consumption has gone down by 1,000. And physical size is gone down by 1,000. That is the exponential part that I'm talking about, not incremental. And you can see because of the breakthroughs in photovoltaic technology, how there is exponential decline in solar PV panel prices and the exponential growth in solar energy usage. I talked about technology, but there is an important part about talent. And I'll tell you about that, what happens. You can see here a photograph of mine with Bill Gates and two of us talking. What happened was uh, uh, Bill Gates, when he had come to India, we had a dinner come discussion meeting with him. And this was Arun Mehra was there, Nandan Nilekani, Anand Mehra, and so on and so forth. We were talking. And then Bill Gates told us an interesting story. He said, I was giving the Harvard University's commencement lecture, and I declared myself as the most successful dropout from uh, the university. And of course, he was. And then he narrated an instance where he said that he actually, when he was 18, 19, that was the time manufacturing of hardware for computers was beginning. So he offered to give. Uh, he said, "You are producing hardware. You will require software. I will give it to you." And he thought, he told us mischievously, I thought that they will keep the phone down. They did not. You know what they did? They said, "We are not ready as yet. Come after a month." And you know what Bill Gates said? He said, "Thank God they said come after a month because I did not have anything that I was offering." Now you can see the importance of trust. These people, they hear a call of an 18, 19-year-old and they say, "We will trust you." Okay. And here, Bill Gates himself had the confidence in terms of his ability. That's very, very important. So, trust, talent, and technology, number one. Number two, when I talk about great pole vaulting, you require kinetic energy to go over. Now, when you are running, there can be obstacles in the way put deliberately by somebody, and you will find that you can't pole vault. And therefore, people become sweat breakers. Their mindsets are very important. If there's a new idea, as soon as you propose, people will say, "Oh, it is too risky." Suppose it fails. Impossible, never done before. Or somebody has tried it already. And if your English is good and you want to say, "I'm scared," you would say, "Let me play devil's advocate." This is not bad. It does work. And also, there is the complacency, cynicism, risk aversion, vested interest, bureaucracy, restrictive regulations, policy limitations. And therefore, for India to become Vikasit, I think there has to be a mindset change where we take risks, we bet the bold, we trust the bet the young, trust the young, and so on and so forth. If you look at cynicism, for example, I worked during the time Steve Ballmer was the CEO of Microsoft, a great man. But when iPhone came, he said, "Oh, $500 fully subsidized with a plan." I said, "This is the most expensive phone in the world. And it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine." All right, can you just imagine? So I had my own experience in corporates, taking risks, for example, the Daring to Try program. I was responsible for it. Mahindra's Dare to Dream, I was not responsible for it, but I changed the title actually because it was a negative title celebrating failure. I told Anand Mahindra, "Arey Baba, isko naam badalna," and that became Dare to Dream. And for Reliance, we created this Beyond Us program. But also in private sector, you will say, "Oh, private sector can risk, can public sector, government systems can take risk." Well, I did that. When in National Chemical Laboratory, I created a kite flying fund where success will be 1 in 100 and amazing results. When I went to CSR, we created a new idea fund once again because I didn't want to call it kite flying because Parliament was just 1 kilometer away. People will say, "Oh, public money is being spent on kite flying," and so on and so forth. So new idea fund. Again, some breakthroughs came. And then public-private relationship, New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative we created. And the beauty of that initiative was like this. If you just see here, India had operated here in this quadrant, you know, where technology was certain and markets were certain, playing safe. Immediately shifted it to where technologies were uncertain and markets were uncertain. Okay. And I remember starting fuel cell program at a time when nobody talked about fuel cell, nobody talked about hydrogen economy, nobody talked about I mean, all sorts of things that we talk about today. And you can see the result. Actually, you can see here Dr. Ashish Lele and Mr. Ravi Pandit and myself launching the hydrogen fuel cell bus, which is ahead of the rest of the world, as you can quite clearly see. And our Honorable Prime Minister launched India's first hydrogen powered ferry built at Cochin Shipyard. And this was KPIT Technologies along with CSR NCL, which was developed by Cochin Shipyard. Now they are talking in terms of actually creating green waterways basically by using this technology. I think that one ferry now there is an order for 20, and I'm quite sure it will become 200. And you can see we can be world leaders basically. But those things were possible because we took a risk at a time when nobody talked. That's what we need. And I want to emphasize something that if you look at our competitiveness, the entire Limitly budget for 14 years was just $7 million. just $7 million. And if you go to the US Department of Energy, just 1 year it was $77 million. That is why India delivers the highest intellectual capital uh, per dollar spent. Here is a chart that shows, as a matter of fact, what is the ratio of R&D spent. If it is spent in India versus that particular country, and what this means actually that in UK, in order to produce the same result, intellectual output, you require twice the money. Australia 4 times the money, China 5 times the money, Germany 6 times the money, and that is why you find that India is becoming now a global R&D platform because we develop the highest intellectual capital per dollar. There are more than 1,200 companies here generating using Indian IQ to generate IP for themselves. Indian industry, we must use Indian IQ to generate IP for ourselves. Lastly, General Bipin Rawat, who is no more unfortunately, had said, after reading the book, he was very impressed and he said, time has come for moving from leapfrogging to pole vaulting. I think India needs finally to build exponential innovation leaders, leaders who pole vault and not just leapfrog, leaders who constantly chase improvement, not improvement. They believe in making the impossible possible. We have to set unreasonable goals. We have to challenge conventional wisdom. We have to have leaders who get ordinary people to do extraordinary things, who suffer from divine discontent and convert adversity into opportunity and generate exponential value through innovation, disruptive, game changing solutions. I'll just see a film of a few seconds. This is Jaipur Food, all right, just for $28, as against $2,000 or $20,000 that is available in the market for Europe or US. And you can see the flexibility in this particular foot, and you can see that he jumps, nothing happens, and he then was asked, "Did it hurt?" He said, "No, not at all." But what you see now is very, very interesting. What you see is that he runs, and just see what he does. He runs how much? 4 minutes 30 seconds for a kilometer. And normally, if I was in the audience, I would have asked how many of you can do it 4 minutes 30 seconds. I can tell you the experience is that not even 1% hands go up. What this is saying is that when you talk about affordable excellence, by using, I mean, you had given him a wooden foot, he would have crawled, right? You would have beaten him easily. But when you give such a food that represents excellence and affordability, it can beat you all. It's competitive. So I think that is the most important part. I would like to sum up that for exponential innovation nation, aspirations are our possibilities. We have to keep them high. Chase 10x, not 10%. You can do anything but not everything. So we must focus. Purpose, perseverance, and passion matters. Too early to quit. Winners are never quitters. Quitters are never winners. And when failure, we have to say that is first attempt in learning. Basically, your best guru is your last mistake. Uh, Chandrayaan 3 succeeded because Chandrayaan 2 had failed and they learned the lessons from that. And when doors of opportunity that you keep on knocking don't open, create your own doors and no limit to human endurance, achievement, imagination, excepting the ones you put on your mind. That's the India of our. Thank you. Thank you.